Hey everyone, Rick here, and I just brought over another load of stuff from my parents' house, and thought I would show off some of the gaming things that I retrieved. I put this Frontline gaming mat out on the table because I was playing some Mage Knight, and assembling just a couple quick armies out of some figures. Just a small 200-point game, but it ended up being a lot of fun. Anyway, so speaking of Mage Knight, a lot of what's in this bin is Mage Knight related. This is a piece of terrain that I picked up probably 15 years ago or so, and it was made by Citadel. A chunk of it got ripped off at some point. But this was one of the first pieces of pre-made terrain I ever purchased from Ground Zero Bellevue in the early 2000s, and I bought it specifically for Mage Knight. And then just some of this other stuff that's on top are just some scenic pieces. I think I went to a local model railroad shop and picked up that. I really don't do much custom scenery, but I like fixing up and sprucing up bases of models, so some of these kind of diorama kits have a lot of good pieces in there for that kind of thing. And also, I think I got some of this from Hobby Lobby. And some more trees. I was planning on making kind of how I've done here with, that's just a Battlefield in a Box trees base. And those trees there are from Custom Kingdoms. But I wanted to do some more of those kind of template things. That's probably why I got some of this felt. I think I was going to do like forest bases in green and then ponds and lakes in blue. But I do already have some kind of nice pre-made stuff also I've been using. Here's another kind of neat tree. This is for like a Christmas village. Probably got that at Menards a few years ago. And then a bunch of this kind of wooden fencing. I really don't know how well that fencing would scale with like a 28 or millimeter figure, but it might not be too bad. And then some kind of sticks. It's funny. You can literally go outside your house and break up some twigs, but if you don't want to do that, you can drive to the store and buy a pack of chopped up twigs for $4.49. And here's some kind of tall grass. And then in here, I picked this lot up off of eBay a long time ago. I think this was made using a Hearst Arts mold, but this is just a bunch of cobblestone road pieces, a whole box of them. And some spray adhesive, which really didn't work too well for me. I bought a huge piece of foam core and put some kind of like a grass mat and tried to glue it down on top of it, but it just peeled right off. I don't know, I kind of gave up on that. Here is something where I tried to mix up some glue and water apparently at one point and put it in a spray bottle. Here's another pack of grass. And it looks like everything else in here is Mage Knight Castle pieces, the official pieces that came out for the Mage Knight miniature skirmish game. Using their conquest rules, there were actual siege engines, and each of these buildings actually has its own dial on it, so if you were actually going to be attacking this gatehouse, it has clicks of life and can fire right back at you, apparently. I didn't really play too much with the walls and gatehouses and keeps and stuff, using them for anything other than just sitting there to look nice and maybe block line of sight. But there was a bunch of these towers. I think I have 4 towers and apparently 2 gatehouses in that keep. And these are great. You'll see people in other miniatures games using these pieces because they look really nice, actually. And they're fully functional. Even the little rings on the doors are movable, and all the doors open up. And there at one time was a wooden bar that went down there. But you can see the pieces that held the bar on. I had to glue back in place at one point or another. some of the little bits and bobs on these buildings would snap off, but for the most part, the buildings themselves were really sturdy. And then, of course, you had the wall pieces, and the walls all hooked together, and this one had a door that could open. And then you have the rampart piece that you could put on there to actually stick figures on. And each wall piece had its own clicks of damage, too, so you could keep track of how much health the walls had before they would be destroyed. Here's just a regular basic wall. And I mean, those actually look really good. I've done nothing to these. These are the way they came at the time. And then on the bottoms, I guess I should have brought that up too. The bottoms have the point values. So if you wanted a light wall, you would actually click down 3 points of health, and it would only cost you 12 points. So you know in Mage Knight, when you have a certain allotment of points to build up your army, in this case you would have points to build up your castle too. This is the Mage Knight Castle book, so I'm glad I still have that in there in case I ever wanted to look at those rules. The walls didn't hook together exactly. They would hook into these middle pieces and then extend from there. So you had to have a lot of these kind of connector pieces. There were also four-way connectors, so you could do all sorts of different configurations. Here's an example of one of the rampart pieces. So that would just stick into the wall like that. That way you could put figures up there to shoot off the sides of the thing. Sometimes those white pieces would come off. But for the most part, and I mean this stuff has just been tumbled in a bucket for years and years, so here's some conquest rules. And some rules that apparently I never... more copies of rules, I guess. And then, what was this? They also had these pieces that you could cut out the back of the packaging. So that was some kind of planking. I can't remember what that was for. There should be some ruined floor. Yeah, so like this ruined rubble. So after a castle wall was destroyed, you would remove it and place that there instead. And then that counted as hindering terrain. And these pieces were just cut out of the back of the packaging, which was pretty clever. And they had all sorts of that kind of stuff. So here's one for one of the ruined towers that you would put there. Here's one it looks like for one of the gatehouses. So that's pretty excellent, really. And that's basically all of that. And then quickly, one last thing, in addition to all this stuff that I brought over, was this box of miniatures. This is just a Game Crafter box, but I filled it up with a bunch of figures I got from the 15mm.co.uk company. And this is all a bunch of sci-fi stuff. And I've based some of it, apparently. But, so here's some kind of big, like, scary skull dreadnought guy. And I based some of these figures on washers already, it looks like. And actually tried to do some molding with some green stuff on one of those bases. But these are just individual infantry troops of some kind. I am really not into sci-fi, but for some reason I got the itch to get some of these. I think I have just a little rule book somewhere that was supposed to be some simple 15mm sci-fi rules that I was going to do something with these with, but I never ended up doing it. Here's kind of a neat little hover car with a gun on it. And, oh, these were really cool. These were like robots where their chests were missile silos or missile things. So these were heavy infantry robots. Here's another little car. They call it a wagon or something. Hover support wagon. Here's a squad carrier that needs some assembly. These guys were really cool. These tracked heavy automata with their wheels and tracks, and then their machine gun like rotary arms. Those were cool. So yeah, I don't know what I was really, or what I'm gonna do with these now, but they were just sitting there. Probably won't ever do anything with them, but who knows? You never know. So anyway, this has gone on long enough, but that is what I picked up from my parents' house this time, and as always, thank you for watching. Until next time.